Good evening, everyone. I'm Kamen Entchev. Welcome to the second episode of Red Wolves Live. A-State hung tough against Tennessee, but ultimately lost 34-19. You'll see highlights in a bit, but first let's head out to Neyland Stadium. Blake Gwynn was at the game. Here are his thoughts.
Kamen, thank you. Certainly still daylight here, and by now it's nighttime. We've recorded this, but I hope by the time that the Red Wolves fans see this, the first thing that they think, and they've had a little bit of time to reflect upon this game, is the fact that, you know what, this was not just a terrible day for the Red Wolves. They had a lot to build on moving forward from this game. They played well in a very, very tough atmosphere. I think it got to them a little bit early, but overall, in the end of the day, they did play well. They didn't let the atmosphere get to them, and that's something they'll be able to take with them going ahead, maybe to a place like Miami. I really do feel overall just a decent day for them despite losing here. I think the coaching staff feels the same. You're going to hear some sound from the coaching staff coming up later on this show, and then I'll have another report coming up near the end of Red Wolves Live. Back to you.
And Blake's certainly right about the tough Tennessee environment. Nearly 100,000 people made it out to the game. It was the second biggest crowd ASU has ever played in front of. Only the 27 road game against Tennessee had a higher attendance. Some A-State fans made it out, and they got to see Freddie Knighton. Look at him. Gets the 6-yard touchdown here. The PAT was missed. It's 6-0 Red Wolves. Freddie had a team-high 65 rushing yards. Tennessee's QB Justin Worley was very accurate today, but here Sterling Young comes up with a big pass deflection. Young and Cooley had 9 tackles to lead the D, but in the second quarter, Worley throws it to Marquez North for a beautiful touchdown. Tennessee's 17 unanswered points make it 17-6. But the Red Wolves wouldn't go away just yet. Freddie finds Tress Houston for a 9-yard TD. ASU went for 2 and didn't get it. It's 17-12 Volunteers. But just over a minute to go in the half, Justin Worley, he did it all. This time on the ground with this 5-yard TD. That gives Tennessee a 24-12 halftime lead. Frankie Jackson didn't play the first half, but he started the second half the same way he did last week with a big hit. We might as well call him Frankie Big Hit Jackson. That hit was definitely clean, though. For back-to-back weeks, Michael Gordon didn't play in the second half because of an injury, but DeKeithan Williams, the freshman, stepped up with this 26-yard TD. That cut the lead to 31-19 early in the fourth. Following the touchdown, A-State goes for the onside kick, and the Red Wolves think they have it. How about that? But the refs say it's Tennessee ball. Cooley was in and out of the game all day long because of what appeared to be rib problems. He leads the pack in this tackle here, but he leaves the game late in the fourth following this tackle. Let's hope Cooley is fine. Tennessee adds a late field goal and wins 34-19. Let's head to the scoreboard for some final stats. Freddie Knighton led A-State with 65 rushing yards on 14 carries. That's 4.6 yards per rush for the stat keepers. Knighton threw for 166 yards through the air. Tress Houston caught the only TD pass and had 48 receiving yards. Arkansas State had 331 total yards compared to Tennessee's 441 total yards. Well, you've seen the highlights and the stats. Coming up next on Red Wolves Live, you'll hear from Coach Anderson and company. Welcome back to Red Wolves Live, as it's time to hear from the Red Wolves themselves. A-State running back Michael Gordon didn't play in the second half. Here's Coach on the injury and how it affected the offense.
Well, he felt really good on Tuesday and Wednesday. Just he took a tough lick early, and it just re-aggravated it. I don't think you know till you get a few days in.
When that happens, I mean, just kind of how much is put on Freddie? It looked like, how much that change you guys looked like a lot was put on him with Mike on the sideline.
He's got a lot on his plate every snap, and that's just the nature of being in our offense as a quarterback. But we didn't design any more runs for him when Mike was on the field or not. We're expecting DeKeithan and Tank and those guys to step up. And DeKeithan had a big run there. It was good to see him. He's healthy now and looked better. That was good to see him spark. I thought Brandon Biner had a couple big runs as well. We got to grow up. We got to grow up fast. I mean, Mike can't carry the load by himself, fresh or healthy or not. I mean, it takes more than one guy. So we need others to step up, and this was a good opportunity for them to get some experience. And they did not put the ball on the ground, so that's a step in the right direction. They didn't put the ball on the ground and fumble the ball. We got to extend some plays, and we got to break some tackles.
We just made a lot of mental errors. If we don't make those, totally different ball game. First half, we're a block and a half away from making some big plays, but give them credit. They played hard. They played sound. They were on defense. They did a pretty good job. We just got to limit those mistakes.
And I mean, even though they were bigger, I still felt like we made a lot of plays on the back end. A couple nice pass breakups. I know they tried us deep a couple times, but overall, I mean, we just got to make some more plays and create more turnovers.
As you just heard, a play here and there in this game could have certainly ended differently. Well, you just saw the highlights and reactions. We'll have final thoughts after the break.
Red Wolves Live, sponsored by George Kell and Arkansas State University.
Welcome back to Red Wolves Live. Even though A-State lost today, the game had it all. Points, big hits, injuries, controversial penalties, you name it, we saw it. Blake Wynn was in Knoxville this afternoon. Let's get his final thoughts.
Well, to really put a final spin on this game, I think several things played a factor. I do think the Red Wolves were still a little banged up from last week. We had the recurrence of the injury from Michael Gordon. That happened. He was not able to continue. Q Lee seemed to be hurting the entire game. He did battle through it. J.D. McKissick was shaken up. Several things played a factor. I think they had some penalties early that really hurt them. I think that the officiating at times was very, very questionable towards them. All those things, I think they did hang in the game. They didn't get blown out. They never let the game get away from them, and I think those are positive things that they can take forward. They are taking things to Miami coming up soon, and I think that playing in an atmosphere like this can only help them. Going to play in an environment like that, it's certainly comparable, but certainly I think a much more difficult atmosphere here in Knoxville. But overall, decent day for the Red Wolves. Nothing to hang their heads about. They're going to be just fine going forward. We saw lots of good things from them today. Kamen, that's it from Knoxville. Thank you so much. We'll send it back to you.
Thanks, Blake. The Red Wolves certainly have plenty to be proud of. You've heard our thoughts, but you can hear more from the leader of the pack tomorrow night. It's the second episode of The Blake Anderson Show. It's produced right here in the KIT studios. Coach will break down the Tennessee game. The Blake Anderson Show is tomorrow at 10:35, right after Region 8 News at 10. And that'll do it for the second edition of Red Wolves Live. A-State certainly put up a tough fight against a respectable team in Tennessee in the 34-19 loss. Up next, another road game against a big team, the Miami Hurricanes. We'll recap it all next week on Red Wolves Live. Have a